All right, days are kind of ticking away right now. I'm in the last few weeks before my job comes to an end, and I've started to notice this feeling kind of creeping back in. It's almost like this PTSD from the first time I got laid off. Definitely not as intense as it was before, but it's definitely there. And I think one of the biggest things I wrestled with back then was my identity. I didn't know it at the time, but I can see it for what it is now. So, the first time it happened, I went through almost 7 months of unemployment, just trying to get a job. I was applying like crazy. I'd get some moments of traction and interviews here and there, but for the most part, it was silence, and things would just kind of fall through. And just after a while, repeatedly, it definitely started to kind of mess with me. And I was just asking myself, like, God, am I just like not good enough? Do I need to switch careers? Do I need to start over? And I think that's when I realized how much of the way I perceived myself was tied to my job. And I don't think I ever like consciously decided that. It was just something that just kind of happened naturally over time. I think after a while, you do something for so long, you kind of get good at it and people affirm it for you. And then you just slowly just start to think like, okay, this is who I am. And I think that was the hardest part. It wasn't just not having a job, it was actually not knowing who I was without it. So I've been kind of thinking about this a lot recently. And what I think identity is basically just like what you base your worth on. And I didn't really notice it when I'm in the midst of it and things are going well, but as soon as it's taken away from you, you notice it. Again, I'm in this similar situation now. I'm losing my job, and over the last few days, those thoughts have started to kind of creep back in. But it feels different this time because before my mindset was like, all right, how do I get my job back? How do I get back to where I was and prove that I'm still valuable? But now I'm just asking a very different question, which is, who do I actually want to be? And I don't have that fully figured out yet, obviously. But I think I had the order in which I went about it a little bit wonky. I was living like work leads to worth, leads to identity. And I needed to like earn my identity through what I did. But it kind of should be flip flopped. And really, the order should be like identity leads to life, which leads to work. And so, like, your job shouldn't really define who you are, it should more reflect who you are. And for me personally, the one thing that's actually felt pretty stable through all of this is again my identity as a follower of Christ. And I just say that as a Christian. I don't mean to be preachy in any way. It's just, for me, when things are feeling uncertain and shaky, that's the one thing that kind of reminds me that my worth isn't tied to my job. It's not tied to my success or how productive I am. And I just feel like when you attach your identity to things like your job, your family, your marriage, your kids, accomplishments, money, whatever, eventually those things are going to let you down. And it's not that because any of those things are just like inherently bad or anything, but it's because they're just never meant to. They're fickle. They change over time. It's not meant to kind of carry that responsibility for you. Now that I'm going into this next season, I'm trying to shift how I think about everything. And instead of asking myself, like, okay, what job should I get? Instead, I'm asking, like, okay, who do I want to become? What kind of life do I actually want to live? And then just kind of let it, everything like my job and things like that, to kind of fall in place and form around that. And I don't think I fully worked that out the first time I got laid off. I just kind of got back on my feet. I kept going. But lo and behold, I'm now in this situation again, and it's kind of forcing me to actually think about this a little bit more intentionally and kind of confront this identity issue. And I think if there's one thing I'm really starting to understand, it's that if your identity is built on something that can be taken away, eventually it's going to be taken away. And when that happens, it doesn't just like mess up your situation. It actually like makes you reflect on how you see yourself, like how you value yourself. And so for me, this time around, I'm trying to have something more stable, something that's not going to change based on whether I'm doing well or not. I don't have the answers just yet, but I do know that losing my job is not taking away my identity, but it's definitely exposed where I've been putting my identity. So yeah, that's all I got for this one. Just kind of thinking out loud and sharing some thoughts. I'll keep documenting this season I'm in and just whatever I'm learning along the way. Hopefully something here resonated with you, and if you like, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. But yeah, appreciate you guys being here, and I will see you on the next one.